Shattered reflections. The reflection in the bathroom mirror was barely recognizable to Olivia Winters. Her hazel eyes, once bright with ambition, now looked back hollow and wary. 3 years of marriage to Julian Blackwood, renowned architect, and Connecticut's most eligible bachelor had slowly erased the woman she used to be. She pressed her fingertips gently against the bruise forming along her jawline. Julian would say it was an accident, just like all the others. He'd apologize with expensive jewelry and tell her how clumsy she was in the same breath. The familiar pattern was as predictable as it was suffocating. "Just breathe," she whispered, to herself, applying concealer with practiced precision. Downstairs, she could hear Julian speaking with animated charm to someone on the phone, his public voice. The one that had fooled everyone, including her family. The charity gala was in 2 hours. She would smile. She would laugh at the right moments. She would stay by his side as the perfect accessory to his carefully crafted image. And then tonight, when no one was watching, she would disappear. For 6 months, Olivia had been preparing. Small cash withdrawals, prepaid phone, a driver's license under her mother's maiden name, Olivia Reed, the escape bag hidden behind the loose panel in her studio, where Julian never ventured because he found her photography pedestrian and a waste of time. When the bathroom door swung open without warning, Olivia's heart nearly stopped. "You're not ready?" Julian's voice was eerily calm, his tall frame filling the doorway. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his custom suit impeccable. "The Richardsons will be here in 30 minutes to drive together. I just need to finish my makeup and put on my dress," she said. Her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Julian's eyes narrowed as he approached, taking her chin between his fingers and turning her face to examine his handiwork. From their disagreement that morning, "Use the Dior foundation. It has better coverage." His phone rang, and he released her with a dismissive glance. "Don't make us late." The moment he left, Olivia gripped the counter to steady herself. This was her last performance. The gala would be crowded, with multiple exits. Julian would be occupied with networking. The Richardsons would provide the perfect distraction with their endless stories about their European vacation. 3 hours later, crystal champagne flutes clinked, and string music floated through the ballroom of the Hartford Grand. Olivia excused herself to the ladies' room. Julian barely acknowledged her. Deep in conversation with the mayor about his proposed downtown revitalization project, instead of turning right toward the restrooms, she slipped left down the service corridor. The kitchen staff barely glanced at her as she moved through the back exit, where her rideshare waited exactly as scheduled. "Echo Lake, Colorado," she had told the vacation rental owner on the phone weeks ago. "Somewhere quiet, where I can work on my photography book." A small cabin on the outskirts of a town too insignificant for Julian to ever consider. A place where no one knew the Blackwood name or cared about Connecticut society. As the car pulled away from the glittering lights of the gala, Olivia felt something crack open inside her chest. Terror and hope in equal measure.
Oh.
Not yet. There would be time for that later, when she was truly free. 20-6 hours later, after switching vehicles twice and using only cash, Olivia stood on the porch of a small wooden cabin nestled among pine trees. The mountain air was thin and sharp in her lungs. October had painted the surrounding aspen trees gold, their leaves trembling in the afternoon. Breeze like thousands of small coins catching the light. She unlocked the door with fingers numbed from more than just the altitude chill. The cabin was simpler. Main room with a kitchenette and stone fireplace. A bedroom with a patchwork quilt, and a bathroom with a clawfoot tub. No designer furniture, no smart home systems that Julian could potentially hack, just worn wood floors and windows that looked out onto wilderness instead of manicured gardens. Olivia set down her single suitcase and the bag containing her camera. Equipment, the only possession she'd truly cared about bringing. Then, finally alone and safe for the first time in years, she sank to her knees on the rough wooden floor and wept. She had escaped. But freedom, she was discovering, felt remarkably like falling. Paper boats 3 weeks into her new life, Olivia established a routine that anchored her days. Mornings were spent exploring the hiking trails around Echo Lake with her camera, capturing the way light filtered through pine branches and reflected off the water's surface. Afternoons, she volunteered at the local bookstore, Foxglove Books, where the owner, a retired literature professor named Eleanor, was grateful for the help and asked minimal questions. It was during her Thursday shift when he first came in, tall, with shoulders slightly hunched as if apologizing for taking up space. His dark auburn hair was pulled back loosely, revealing a face that seemed carved from something resilient, yet weathered handsome in a way that suggested he'd earned every line around his eyes. "The usual, Mr. Finch?" Eleanor called from behind the register. He nodded, offering a reserved smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "If you have anything new on architectural preservation, I'd appreciate that too." Olivia kept her head down, organizing the new arrivals display, but she could feel his gaze briefly settle on her before moving away. When Eleanor introduced them, "Olivia, this is Griffin Finch, our local restoration specialist," she managed a polite nod without meeting his eyes directly. "New in town?" he asked, his voice low and textured like stone. "Just passing through," she replied, the practiced lie coming easily now. "Working on a photography project." Something in his expression suggested he recognized the evasion but respected it. The North Trail has the best light this time of year. At dawn, before she could respond, he'd paid for his books and was gone, leaving behind only the faint scent of pine and wood smoke. Eleanor chuckled. "Don't mind Griffin. He's not much for small talk. Showed up here about 2 years ago, bought the old Hammond estate, and keeps to himself. Does beautiful work restoring historical buildings all over the state, though." Olivia nodded, trying to appear only mildly interested. The last thing she needed was to draw attention by asking questions about a local resident. 2 days later, she found herself on the North Trail at dawn, telling herself it was for the photography opportunity, not because of a stranger's suggestion. The morning mist was rising off the lake in ethereal wisps when she noticed a figure on the dock. Griffin, seated cross-legged, folding something in his hands. She kept her distance, adjusting her camera lens to capture the scene from afar. Through the viewfinder, she watched as he placed a small paper boat on the water's surface and gently pushed it away. The tiny vessel drifted into the mist before disappearing. Something about the deliberate ritual, performed in solitude, felt intensely private. Olivia lowered her camera, suddenly uncomfortable with her intrusion. As she turned to leave, a twig snapped beneath her boot. Griffin's head turned sharply. "Who's there?" "Sorry," she called, stepping reluctantly into view. "I was just taking photos. I didn't mean to disturb you." Recognition softened his wariness. "The bookstore photographer?" "Olivia," she supplied, staying where she was, maintaining a safe distance. He nodded toward her camera. "Did you get what you were looking for?" "Almost." She hesitated, curiosity winning over caution. "If you don't mind me asking, ... the paper boat?" Something flickered across his face, surprised that she'd noticed. Perhaps, or that she'd asked. For a moment she thought he might not answer. "An old habit," he finally said. "From when I was a kid." He stood, brushing off his jeans. "My mother used to say our worries are like paper. They seem solid until they get wet." The unexpected poetry of his explanation caught her off guard. "So you were sending your worries away." A hint of a genuine smile touched his lips. "Something like that?" He gestured to the trail beside him. "Since you're here, I can show you the spot I was talking about." For your photography, every instinct told Olivia to decline, to maintain distance, to protect the fragile shell of her new identity. That something about Griffin's quiet presence felt unthreatening. Perhaps it was the way he stood not too close, hands visible, eyes patient. "All right," she heard herself say, "just for a little while." The spot turned out to be a small clearing where the morning light streamed through a natural arch in the rock formation, creating a golden pathway across the water. As Olivia adjusted her settings and began shooting, Griffin kept a respectful distance, occasionally pointing out details she might have missed: a heron partially hidden in the reeds, the pattern of ripples from a rising fish. You have a good eye, she admitted, reviewing a particularly striking composition. Comes with the work. Restoration is all about seeing what's hidden beneath the surface. He paused. Sometimes what's broken is the most interesting part of the structure. The words hung between them, laden with meaning neither was ready to acknowledge. Olivia lowered her camera. I should get back. I have a shift at the bookstore. Nodded. I'll be in later this week. Eleanor's holding a first edition of Ruskin's 7 Lamps of Architecture for me. They walked back in companionable silence, parting at the trailhead with nothing more than a nod. Yet as Olivia watched him walk toward a weathered pickup truck, she felt a peculiar sense of recognition, not of his face or name, but of something beneath the surface. The careful way he moved through the world, the deliberate distance he maintained. She knew that cautious dance all too well. It was the choreography of someone carrying secrets. Glass towers over the following weeks, their encounters fell into a pattern brief. Quiet conversations at the bookstore or occasional nods on the trail. Griffin never pressed for details about her past, and Olivia returned the courtesy. It was a careful friendship built on present moments rather than personal histories. November brought the first heavy snow, transforming Echo Lake into a hushed, white landscape. The bookstore became a haven of warmth, with Eleanor's mulled cider simmering on a hot plate and local residents lingering longer between the shelves. We're hosting a small gathering tonight, Eleanor told Olivia as they arranged a holiday display. Local artists and their work. Nothing fancy, just wine, cheese, and conversation. You should join us. Olivia hesitated. Public gatherings meant photos, possible social media posts, risks she'd been carefully avoiding. Griffin's bringing some of his architectural drawings, Eleanor added with a knowing smile. Quite extraordinary, really. The man could be designing skyscrapers, and instead, he's here restoring our little historical buildings. Curiosity piqued. Olivia agreed to help serve refreshments, promising herself she would stay in the background. The evening brought a surprising crowd to Foxglove Books, with local artists displaying everything from woven tapestries to hand-carved wooden bowls. Griffin arrived late, carrying a leather portfolio and looking distinctly uncomfortable in a charcoal sweater that replaced his usual work clothes. His architectural drawings, displayed on easels in the corner, drew a constant crowd. Even from a distance, Olivia could see they were masterful, intricate renderings of restored historical buildings alongside bold, innovative designs that seemed to belong in major cities, not a small mountain town. When the crowd thinned around his display, Olivia approached, a glass of wine in hand, more for something to hold than to drink. These are remarkable, she said, studying a design for what appeared to be a sustainable community center built into the natural landscape. Just ideas, Griffin replied, his discomfort evident. Eleanor insisted I bring them. They don't look like just ideas to me. Olivia pointed to his signature in the corner. G.F. Westbrook? I thought your name was Finch. Something shuddered in his expression. Finch is my mother's name. I use it professionally here. Before she could ask why, a boisterous group entered the bookstore, led by a man wearing an ski jacket. He scanned the room with the entitled air of someone accustomed to being recognized. So one of the locals whispered loudly, "That's definitely Wesley Harrington, the tech mogul." Griffin's posture stiffened almost imperceptibly. I should go, he murmured to Olivia. Too late. The newcomer had spotted Griffin and was making his way over, his face lighting with recognition. Griffin Westbrook, he announced. Loud enough, too. Turn heads throughout the store. I thought that was you. What on earth are you doing hiding in this little town? A hush fell over the gathering. Griffin's jaw tightened, but he extended his hand with practiced politeness. Wesley, didn't expect to see you here. Bought a place up on Summit Ridge. Winter retreat. Wesley's gaze fell on Griffin's drawings. Still designing, I see. Though this is quite a step down from Westbrook Innovation's Tokyo headquarters, isn't it? One of the most revolutionary sustainable structures of the decade. And now you're what? Drawing cottages? Olivia watched as recognition dawned on the faces around them. Whispers spread through the room like ripples on water. Westbrook, as in Westbrook Innovations, the technology company? Wasn't there some scandal? Griffin's eyes met Olivia's briefly, a flash of resignation before his expression closed. Completely. Without another word, he began collecting his drawings, methodically returning them to his portfolio. "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Griff," Wesley continued, oblivious to, or perhaps enjoying the tension. "Everyone has setbacks, though yours was quite spectacular. What was it? 2 billion in market value lost when you walked away? And all because of that mess with your fiancée? What was her name? Vanessa? Victoria?" "Excuse me," Griffin said quietly, his portfolio now secured under his arm. He nodded briefly to Eleanor before making his way to the door. Olivia found herself following him. Outside, driven by an impulse she couldn't name, the night air was biting cold, snowflakes swirling under the street lamps. "Griffin, wait." He stopped, but didn't turn.
"Oh, you should go back inside. Who are you?"
she asked, her breath forming clouds between them. Now he did turn, his expression a complex mixture of resignation and defiance. Exactly who Wesley said. Rafen Westbrook, former CEO of Westbrook Innovations, creator of sustainable smart buildings that were supposed to revolutionize urban living. His laugh was hollow, until my fiancé sold exclusive interviews claiming I was controlling, manipulative, obsessed with power, that I'd stolen her designs, her ideas. Was it true? Olivia asked quietly. No, but it didn't matter. The court of public opinion had its verdict. Snow gathered on his shoulders as he stood there. I could have fought back, released private messages that would have vindicated me, destroyed her credibility. But what would that have made me, Olivia? Understood then, the paper boats, the quiet life, the borrowed name. So you just ... disappeared. I stepped away. There's a difference. His eyes searched her face. But you'd know something about that, wouldn't you, Olivia Reed? Or whatever your real name is. The accusation, gentle as it was, hit like a physical blow. That's not fair, isn't it? We've been dancing around each other for weeks, both pretending to be people we're not. His expression softened slightly. I recognized it from the beginning, the way you check exits in a room, how you flinch when someone raises their voice. The careful answers to simple questions. Shame and fear twisted in her stomach. You don't know anything about me? I know you're running from something, or someone. Griffin took a step back. And that's your right. We all have our reasons for the choices we make. He turned to go, then paused. For what it's worth, Olivia Reed, your secrets are safe with me. Oh, mine are safe with you. As he walked away, disappearing into the swirling snow, Olivia stood frozen, the cold seeping through her clothes. Her carefully constructed new life suddenly felt as fragile as one of Griffin's paper boats, set adrift on uncertain waters. Weathering the storm, December brought relentless storms to Echo Lake, the mountain passes often closed by heavy snow. Olivia threw herself into work at the bookstore, avoiding the trails and the possibility of encountering Griffin. Of his true identity had unsettled her more than she cared to admit, not because of who he was, but because of how easily he had seen through her. Eleanor, sensitive to the shift, assigned them different schedules without comment. But after 2 weeks of this arrangement, she finally intervened. Whatever happened between you two, she said one quiet afternoon, as they unpacked a shipment of books, it might be worth talking about. Good people are rare in this world, Olivia. And that man, regardless of his name or past, is one of the good ones. Olivia focused on shelving a stack of novels. It's complicated. Most worthwhile things are. Eleanor handed her another book. He came by yesterday, you know. Left something for you. From beneath the counter, Eleanor produced a small, carefully wrapped package. Inside, Olivia found a leather-bound journal with cream pages and a note in precise handwriting for new stories when you're ready to write them. That evening, alone in her cabin, as wind howled outside, Olivia opened her laptop for the first time in months and typed Griffin Westbrook into the search bar. Articles flooded the screen, his rise as an architectural prodigy, the innovative technology company he'd built around sustainable design, and then the spectacular fall 3 years ago when his fiancée, Vanessa Mercer, accused him of emotional manipulation and intellectual theft. What struck Olivia most was Griffin's response, or lack thereof. A single statement declining to comment on personal matters, followed by his resignation as CEO and complete withdrawal from public life. No defense, no counterattack, just silence and absence. She recognized the strategy all too well. It was the same one she'd employed when Julian had begun subtly undermining her to their friends, suggesting she was emotionally fragile and prone to exaggeration. She'd retreated rather than fought, believing silence was dignity. Now she wondered if there wasn't something braver in speaking truth, no matter how painful. The storm intensified overnight, knocking out power across town. By morning, Eleanor had sent a message that the bookstore would remain closed. Restless and confined, Olivia found herself drawn to Griffin's journal. Opening it to find the first page already contained his neat script. The truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes it just gives you a different kind of prison. Found that silence builds the strongest walls. Impulsively, she bundled up and ventured out into the snow-covered streets. The power outage had driven most residents to the town's emergency shelter at the community center. But Olivia headed in the opposite direction, toward the old Hammond estate where she knew Griffin lived. The historic mansion stood on a wooded hillside, its Victorian architecture now barely visible through driving snow. She followed the plowed driveway, doubt growing with each step. What was she doing here? What did she hope to accomplish? Before she could retreat, the front door opened. Griffin stood framed in the doorway, surprise evident on his face. "Olivia, what are you doing out in this?" He ushered her inside without waiting for an answer, taking her snow-covered coat. "Power's out all over town." "It's not here," she observed, noting the soft lights illuminating the entryway. "Solar panels and a backup system I designed." He led her into a warm kitchen, where a fire crackled in an ancient hearth. "Tea." She nodded, taking in the space, the perfect balance of restored historical elements and modern functionality. So, different from Julian's cold showpiece home that had appeared in architectural magazines, but had never felt livable. "Thank you for the journal," she said as he handed her a steaming mug. "Eleanor mentioned you like to write. I thought it might help." He leaned against the counter, studying her with those perceptive eyes. "But I don't think you came through a blizzard to thank me for a gift." Olivia took a deep breath. "My name is Olivia Winters. I was married to Julian Blackwood." Griffin's expression remained neutral, though recognition flickered in his eyes. Julian's reputation in architectural circles would be well known to him. "I left him 3 months ago, the night of a charity gala." The words came easier now, tumbling out like stones long carried. He was ... controlling, manipulative, eventually violent. "I know who Julian Blackwood is," Griffin said quietly. "Work is technically brilliant, but there's no soul in it. No consideration for the humans who have to live in his spaces." It's a simple observation so accurate, it was startling loosened something in Olivia's chest. Everyone thinks he's charming, he's dedicated, misunderstood. No one would believe I would, Griffin interrupted gently. "I do." Those two simple words, a statement of belief without evidence demanded, were so unexpected that Olivia felt tears spring to her eyes. "Why didn't you defend yourself?" she asked, changing course. Against Vanessa's accusations, Griffin's gaze shifted to the fire, because fighting her publicly would have made her claims seem true. She wanted a reaction, needed it to sustain her narrative. He looked back at Olivia, because there was a grain of truth to what she said. "What do you mean? I was obsessed with my work? Put it above everything, above her, above myself? I didn't steal her designs, but I didn't give her the credit she deserved for her contributions either," he sighed. "The public battle would have forced me to destroy her to save myself. I couldn't do it, so you just ... vanished." "Let her win." "I let go," he corrected. "There's freedom in that. Sometimes." The howling wind outside underscored the silence between them. Olivia thought of Julian, of how he was almost certainly still searching for her, his rage building with each day she remained beyond his control. "He'll never stop looking for me," she said, almost to herself. Griffin set his mug down carefully. "What do you want, Olivia? Not what you're running from, what are you running toward?" The question caught her off guard. For months, survival had been her only goal. "I don't know," she admitted. "To feel safe. To remember who I was before him."
And
"Who was that?" Memories surfaced of gallery showings where her photography had been praised. Of the environmental magazine she'd worked for before, Julian had insisted she'd focus on being his wife. Someone with her own voice, she said finally. Someone who noticed things others missed. Griffin nodded. I've seen your photographs at the community center display. The person is still there. How would you know? Because broken doesn't mean destroyed. He moved to a drawer, retrieving something before returning to her. Here, in his palm, lay a small origami boat, carefully folded from what appeared to be a page of architectural plans. I've been making these since I was 8 years old. My father was ... a difficult man. My mother taught me to write down the things he said, the things that hurt, and fold them into boats. Set them sailing, she'd say. Don't carry what isn't yours to bear. Olivia took the delicate paper vessel, understanding flooding through her. That's what you were doing at the lake, he nodded. Some habits become rituals, ways of letting go. The intimacy of the moment. This sharing of private pain created a bridge between them that felt both terrifying and necessary. I'm afraid, she admitted, her voice barely audible over the storm. It's not just of Julian finding me, but of disappearing completely. Only this someone in hiding. Griffin's hand found hers across the table, warm and steady. Then don't hide. Stand. It's not that simple. It never is, he agreed. But you're not alone anymore, Olivia, whatever you decide. The power flickered on briefly, then off again. But in that momentary illumination, something shifted between them, a recognition of shared wounds and the possibility of healing. As the blizzard raged outside, they talked through the night about their pasts, yes, but also about architecture. In photography, about the towns they'd loved and the places they'd felt most alive. About what it meant to rebuild, not just structures, but selves. When morning came and the storm finally subsided, Olivia found herself standing at one of the mansion's east-facing windows, watching the sun break through clouds to illuminate a transformed landscape. Fresh snow blanketed everything, erasing boundaries between road and field, creating a clean canvas where nothing existed but possibility. Griffin appeared beside her, offering a fresh cup of coffee. What are you thinking? He asked, following her gaze. That I've been trying to erase myself, she replied, surprising herself with the candor. But maybe what I need to do is redefine myself, on my own terms. He nodded, understanding without needing further explanation. The question is how? I'm not sure yet, Olivia admitted. But I know I can't keep running forever. She prepared to leave. Griffin walked her to the door. In the daylight, the entryway revealed more of its character, the restored woodwork. The stained glass transoms, the careful blend of past and present. This place suits you, she observed, finding beauty in what others might have torn down. It's a work in progress, he replied with a small smile, like most worthwhile things. The threshold, he hesitated. Olivia, whatever you decide to do. The offer hung between them, not a demand or expectation, but a gentle possibility. Olivia found herself nodding, a weight lifting that she hadn't realized she'd been carrying. Like that, she said, and stepped back into the snow-bright world, feeling for the first time that she was walking toward something rather than away.